say, I thought quite an entrance would be if you tripped up the steps. You know, it would have been quite a novelty.
As you saw, I tried to make a very youthful entrance, but I didn't dare to come any faster in case I repeat the performance.
Herbert, those films are just wonderful to watch. They're just so funny. Was it as much fun making them?
Yes and no. Yes, because I was fortunate to have a lot of gigglers as my colleagues. The director, Blake Edwards, is a giggler. He's spoiled many a take. And Peter Sellers was a giggler as well. But no, partly because I'll describe to you very quickly one morning in the film studio trying to create 30 seconds of comedy on the screen. There was a scene when my character is glad that Chief Inspector Clouseau has disappeared. And he opens the window to let in the fresh air and he throws his cigar into the wastepaper basket. The wastepaper basket catches fire, the desk catches fire, the curtains catch fire, the room catches fire. I must point out that in this part, I'm in a plaster cast from my chin to my toes because I've had various accidents chasing Inspector Clouseau. So I'm covered in a plaster cast. When the room on fire, and I scream for help, and the door opens, and my neighbors come and turn on a big fire hose, one of those big, you know, what the firemen use. And they hit me with it, and it's so powerful that I'm thrown out of the window, down 2 floors and into a fish pond where I swallow a goldfish. Now, it reads well, but to shoot it is not that simple. So.
And wasn't there a scene as well where you had to use laughter gas?
Oh, yes. Peter Sellers was disguised as a German dentist, and he has to pull my tooth, and he gives me laughing gas, and then he sniffs it himself, and we both start laughing. And it took all day to shoot that scene, and we had to, of course, didn't have real laughing gas. We had to act the laughing, and so we laughed all afternoon and all morning, and in the evening we were quite hysterical.
And exhausted, I should think.
Completely exhausted, yes.
Well, you knew Peter Sellers for something like 25 years.
Yes.
Now, we hear various stories about what he was like really to work with, but how do you assess him as a man?
Well, as a colleague, he was wonderful. He was no trouble at all, and he was very funny, and he was a giggler. As a man, he was a bit mad. He was a mixed up, poor, lonely guy. I had known him for, as you say, 25 years. I had known him since a little film we made called The Lady Killers, where he played, I think, his first part. And I remember him coming to me after the show, after the film was finished, saying, "Herbert, could you help me to try and get another little part?" And I said, "You won't need my help," and he didn't. I then knew him over the many years. I saw him 2 years ago in the south of France, where he had just bought a home. And he took a year to furnish it and remodel it and retile it. And on the night that he moved in, I rang him up because I was not far from there. I rang him up to wish him a happy home. And he said, "Thanks, but we're moving out." I said, "Why? What's happened? Has the main burst or something?" He said, "No, we don't like it. We just don't like it. And anyway, we don't like the French." My wife is French, but he didn't mind it. "Anyway, we don't like the French." I said, "Why not?" He said, "They can't speak English."
And he was supposed to be a very insecure man too, wasn't he?
He was insecure, yes. But he was a great comedian, and I've just made 2 films, partly using old clips from his previous, the clips that we've used were never used in any films. We had large chunks of Peter Sellers that had never been used. And around that, we have built a film called The Trail of the Pink Panther that comes on in London next week.
And was it not strange, though, making the movies without Peter Sellers around?
It was a bit strange, but it was even stranger seeing him. We had a wax effigy of Peter that was standing in a makeup room, which was used in various scenes as a foreground or background, with his hat and trench coat. And of course, the makeup man had various faces of Peter Sellers all over the place with different noses and beards. And so we moved among Peter Sellers' memories. It was a bit strange, I must admit, but I don't think it was in bad taste, as some critics have pointed out. I think it's a tribute to Peter that we can carry on making these movies without him.
Let's go back to your early days, because when you were in Czechoslovakia, you weren't exactly called Herbert Lom, were you?
Not exactly, no.
No. What was your name? Say it slowly for me.
I'll say it for you if you try to repeat it.
Well, do it.
My real family name is Kuchachevich ze Studerpacheru. Please repeat it.
I give up.
You give up?
I give in, I
You
give up the whole bit. I mean, that's an incredible name. So where did you get the Herbert Lom from?
That's an even longer story. I won't even start. Anyway, it was a short name and it served me well.
It certainly has served you well. But why did you come to this country? Was it because you wanted to be an actor here?
I wanted to be an actor here, yes, yes. I went first to Cambridge University, and then I somehow drifted into being an actor. It's all by accident.
But you had a lot of sinister roles, didn't you, in the early days? I mean, why do you feel you got those sinister parts?
I was a foreigner, so I had to be sinister. To English people in those days, foreigners were sinister people and villains. And for many years, I played nothing but villains. And I made quite a little name for myself and quite a bit of money for myself playing villains. Till many years later, Blake Edwards, the director of the Pink Panther, called me to the Dorchester one day. And he said, Mr. Lom, I've watched you play these heavy, dramatic, villainous parts for so many years. I think you're very funny. So I said, thank you very much for the compliment. If I'm so funny, what have you got to offer me? And he offered me Inspector Dreyfus, which I haven't regretted.
But the thing is that I remember you very much in The King and I.
Oh,
And
yes.
in fact, you played that in the West End for how many years?
2 years.
For 2 years.
Yes.
Do you mind having your head shaved and getting very much into that role?
My dear, I would have had my ears cut off to get that part. So I had to have my head shaved, yes, and it was perhaps the happiest time of my life, although it was very, very strenuous, I must admit. The happiest moments and the toughest moments, because to be in a show for 2 years and play the same part 8 times a week is not an easy task. One begins to, or rather I began to, forget my lines in the second year. Seems
Really?
strange, but you know your lines so well, you begin to forget them. Happy moments and anxious moments. I'll tell you a little anxious moment that happened to me, I think in the second year of The King and I, when my little son Nick, who was then a little boy, came to see the show with a little pal of his from school, and they were put in a box to watch the matinee. And he had faithfully promised me not to speak when I'm on the stage, because children are inclined to say, look, there's Daddy, and so on. So he had promised that faithfully. And there was a very dramatic scene where the King of Siam is about to whip a slave girl, but in the last minute, he breaks down. He can't do it. He throws the whip away, he holds his head, and he rushes off into the wings. That was a very dramatic moment in the show. And we played it again, and I threw the whip away, I held my head, and I rushed into the wings. And usually there was a hushed silence. You could have heard a pin drop in the theater. Well, instead of the pin dropping, there was a howl of laughter that afternoon. The audience roared with laughter. My heart stopped. I looked down at whether I'd lost my pants on the way out. And then Valerie Hobson, who was my leading lady, came out after me and said, did you hear that? I said, no, what happened? And into that silence, apparently, my little son Nick's voice was heard to say, Daddy has gone to his dressing room.
Oh, it's lovely. Well, Herbert Lom, thank you very much. I mean, as you said, 2 films have been completed with the cut-offs.
Yes, one called The Trail of the Pink Panther, and in the spring, The Curse of the Pink Panther.
Well, it's smashing to see you on Sunday. Ladies and gentlemen, Herbert Lom.
Thank you.